Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to see how to add assertions. So which is kind of how to add an expected result. That is what assertion mean. If it does not meet our expected result, we need to fail it, right? So we currently I'm just opening the project which we created in our previous slide. So where we recorded a URL, we logged in and we logged out. Okay, so that was the basic step which we have done it. So, and to view the result, we have the result tree which will show what was the results. Okay, yeah. So to clear the result tree, you can click here, result clear all, which will clear all the listeners. So, and if you want to click on the particular one, you can click the first one to clear it. Okay. So before going into a session, let's just increase the thread to around 5 threads. Okay, so and we'll give an execution. So what will happen is in the result tree we will see. So we have around how many samplers? We did talk on it, right? So we had around 6 samplers, right? So each thing happened 6 times. So 6 into what was the thread we give 5, right? 6 into 5, what is it? 30 samplers. So you can see number of samplers are 30. Okay, so for each samplers there is a login. So URL opens up and logins and logout. So now what you can see is, so what we defined the ramp up period. So that we said like after each 1 second start the next one. So that's why like you can see all opening happening together at the same time followed by the login for 5, right? But if you want to ramp out very slowly, we will increase this ramp up period to 5 seconds. Okay, so I'm going to rerun it again and I'm going to go to the result tree. Okay, so one thing which we did not do is clean up the code. So you can see that from 31 you need to see that the URL got opened, then we logged in, then again, then the URL got opened, the second one ramped up, and the same way it got ramped up. So which basically means like we are ramping it up after each 1 second because at the end of 5 seconds we want all the 5 users to be on, right? So it took totally 7 seconds here, you can see it, and total number of users were 5, right? So these all things we did talk it in our previous videos. So we will clear the samplers out here. Okay. So now the samplers are cleared. So what next? So now we have to see what we can do on it, right? Okay, so then we will proceed to our main part now, right? So our main part was to in this video was assertions. So to add assertions, you can click on the thread which we created, right? So thread will have. Are you able to see assertions out here? Yes, here you have the assertion. Okay. So we can click here and we can add an assertion. So we are going to see a duration assertion. Okay, which is a common requirement. Okay. So if you see, it gets added at the end because I was adding as a thread, right? So when we add it as a thread, it will come to the overall duration. Okay, but we can also add it for each of the individual actions which we have done it. Like if you click here, we see assertions here. So if I click and add duration assertion over here, it will have duration assertion for over here. Okay. So let's keep both the duration assertion and let's keep duration of 1000. Let's keep 500. Right. I know it's not. And 500. Okay. For the demo purpose, first we let's reduce the thread to one user. Okay, fine. Now we will see in the view tree. Okay, nothing is there. Okay, so we will run the test case. Okay. So when we view in our test results, it says all got failed, right? So because it has more time than that. Okay. So but how to determine the duration which took, right? We cannot see what was the duration of all. So what basically is missing here is listener. Okay. We need to add a listener which is for accession results. So I can have overall a listener over here, or I can have a listener over for each of the recording actions which we done, right? So I can add a listener out here. So remember, like I already stated, there are options everywhere, so we can do however we want to add it, right? Okay, so the next what I would say is like we'll clear it up and now run it. So when I run it, it's interesting. You can see one of the this got passed, right? So if you see the login 5, it got passed, right? And what does it mean? We'll go through it. But if you see here, it said it took 1454 milliseconds. Okay, should not have been longer than 500 milliseconds. So it says how many milliseconds we got and how much it got. Okay, and if you look at the assertion results out here, it says where it got passed, it is not going to say anything. It will be remaining blank. But when it gets failed, it will say how many milliseconds it was and how much it should not be. Okay. Now, if you see here, we got two duration assessment for the URL open. Well, because we had two assertions. One, we have overall assertions over here, which checks for each of the URL, each of the controller, and we had one specific within the controller which triggered both. So let's have this like with based on the requirement, but let's do one thing. Let's increase this assertion duration to 1500 and we clear the screen. Okay, so we cleared all the results. There is no results out here. Now I'm going to rerun it. Okay, so when I rerun it, I did not increase it. Okay, so it's showing only one result. Okay, but if you see the duration, assertion was 1500 for the URL open, but assertion result it says 1072 for 500 milliseconds. Okay, so why it's so? So the assertion results, that is the listener, is for overall. Even if you place it within one controller, it is going to run for overall. Okay, so and it took the overall one dependent for this URL, this controller alone, right? So this controller had a assertion result which is placed in the overall thing, but it impacts this controller. That's why the assertion result of inside also was taken in, right? So it means like you can have the assertion result for each module and you can have the assertion at the overall to see the result. Okay. Or you can have both assertion and result within each of the controller, or you can have it globally. Okay, so globally it will have all the five actions, controllers, sorry, samplers, which were part of this project. Okay. Okay, so I think you got a good idea of how the assertion works and what we need to have it for analysis, right? So this is at a high level of an assertion. So if you look at the assertion, open it and go here and look over on the assertion, there are a lot and number of assertions, which as this we are just starting with the basic, we'll be looking through others in the coming sessions. Okay, so everything is based on name and how we want to do it, right? So one thing what we can do is so in the duration assertion also we can change the name here. We can write comments out here. So that can be done along with it. So now what I'm going to do is, anyway I have an assertion outside, so I'm going to remove this inside assertion and also the assertion result from this. Okay, and remove option is, you can right click and you can go here and click on remove, right, and it will remove any elements which you are adding. Okay, it's for all the elements. Okay, so now as we were running this, right, so we were running it for only one iteration, so let me increase the number of users to 10. Okay, so next, before running, I need to clear all my results, right, so that it does not mess up. Duration, I know, like 500 millisecond, everything is failing. So I'll put an optimum of 1800 millisecond, which was 1700 for one of the samplers. Others were below it only. So ideally, if I run it with a one thread, it's going to pass, right? So, but here we are going to run it with 10 threads. So let's see what's the result. So we go to the result tree and we will see how each one of them behaves. Wow. So everything was really good even with 10 users. So our test case passed. 1800, you can see here the session result for each one, it's blank, which means that there is no failure on it, right? Okay, so that's how we had a duration accession. Okay, so to before we wind up, let me add one more accessions to it, which is we will put a size accession. Okay, so size assertion refers to the number of what is the size in bytes. Okay, so I'll say it should be greater than 800. The response should always be greater than 800 bytes. Right, it's kind of like a size where we can say, okay, if it is below the size, it means that we did not get a proper response or invalid response. And all these assertions are basically based on the test results, sorry, the test requirements which we get from the business. Okay, so before we run it, let me clear it up and let's click it the run button, right? So let's see it. So everything is on pass. Wow, good. So let's do a negative cases on it, like if it's less than, say, 500 bytes, it should be less than 500 bytes. Okay, it's so if anything is more than 500 bytes, it should fail. Okay, so we'll see how the results look. So this is the accession results. So each one of them. So we have around what is the byte which is coming for each one of them, and the test results we can see that all got failed. Right. So this is on assertion and how to analyze the result, and basically, as I said, assertions are what assertions you want to use, and everything depends on what the business requirement we have for this performance testing. Okay, so I hope you have learned how to add assertion and how to view the result for the assertion. Right. So we will meet in the next video to discuss more on new topic. Thank you guys for watching my video. Please click the like button and subscribe to my channel.